time of my life has been with another man's wife. Yes, another man's wife. The only person who could kiss me and scold me all in one breath. The woman who inspired me to be who I am and enabled me to be here today. The only woman who could feel my pain whenever I hurt, and she always lifted me up whenever I fell. She would hold my hand and say, "It will be well." And indeed, it was always well, because her love was pure and reassuring. October 22nd, 2014, this woman could no longer look at me. She could no longer smile. There were no more loving hugs. Because the woman I loved, the woman I knew as my mother, the woman I had spent my entire life with, had passed away because of breast cancer. I remember the day before she died. We were in hospital, Nakasero Hospital. She was in so much pain. She held my hand and said, "Harold, my sunshine," as she always called me. "I've come to the end of my race. And as I go home to rest forever, I want you to use my suffering as a learning experience and reach out to as many women as you can and save them from cancer." And that's the reason I'm here today. Cancer, sometimes it's called malignancy. It's as a result of uncontrolled cell growth. And there are a number of factors, but four main ones are: there are mutations to the DNA in our bodies. These mutations lead to uncontrolled cell growth within our bodies. And these many times become cancerous. There are carcinogens. These are harmful substances. We find them almost everywhere in the environment because of pollution, exhaust fumes from cars and heavy industries. Sometimes in the foods that we eat. For example, the red meat, when you cook it at a very high temperature, there is a likelihood that it will cause cancer once you eat it. Sometimes these cancers can be inherited. When you have a family history of cancer patients, especially breast cancer and prostate cancer for the men, you're at a higher risk of getting these cancers. We also have advanced age. To those of us who are in their late years, it's as bad as other diseases like HIV or hepatitis. These conditions reduce our body's ability to fight diseases. And when cancer strikes, it spreads rapidly like wildfire. These are mainly four things that we need to look out for. Some of them we can control, some of them we cannot. So what do we do? From the dying wishes of my mother, together with my wife, we started Ayebare Foundation. It's a charity organization that aims to eliminate breast and cervical cancer deaths in Uganda. I use the word eliminate because these two cancers are preventable. They are avoidable if we do what we have to do. I must commend the number of organizations that have been at the forefront of fighting cancer in Uganda. They've done a good job so far. But there is still a lot that needs to be done, especially in terms of sensitization, in terms of access to affordable screening services for our people. From our interactions with the communities where we've been, the biggest challenge to fighting cancer in Uganda is the late diagnosis. Late diagnosis is as a result of lack of awareness. People simply don't know what to do. Those who know fear to do it. There is also a challenge of lack of access to screening services. We have the Cancer Institute in Mulago, but my grandmother, deep down in the villages of where I come from, about 6 hours drive from Kampala, cannot access that facility for a regular screening. We need to work on that. According to the World Health Organization Country Cancer Profile Report for Uganda for 2014, approximately 3,300 women die from breast and cervical cancer every year. In simple terms, that is 60 women dying every week from these preventable causes. Cancer in general kills approximately 9,000 women every year in Uganda. And these numbers are just a tip of an iceberg, because there are so many women dying and these cases are not reported. In African culture, when you're under attack, you make an alarm. You make an alarm to attract help, to attract attention to yourself so you can be saved and rescued. Today, I'm making that alarm on behalf of the vulnerable women who are dying as we look on, dying from preventable causes that we have a lot to change. Women who don't have access to these facilities. And I believe that if each one of us did something small, we could save these lives. The World Health Organization report I mentioned earlier further estimates that 10 million women and girls aged between 14 to 44 are at a risk of dying from these cancers. If you consider the latest national census for Uganda, you will realize that that is, for every 3 people you meet, 1 of them is a woman in this category. Cancer is a monster amongst us. But we can fight it, we can win this war. If we all come together and we do what we are supposed to do, we can win the war. I would like to tell you that the good news is, once you know what you're supposed to do and you do it the way you're supposed to do it, you defeat cancer. And you need only 3 things. 1 is nutrition. Let's eat healthy. Let's eat more of plant protein. Let's eat more of fresh fruits and vegetables. And we are talking organic foods, not the genetically modified foods. 2, we need to change our lifestyle. We need to be more active. we need to stay away from tobacco use. It's estimated that tobacco use is directly responsible for over 30% of the world cancer deaths every year. We need to stay away from excessive alcohol use. The third is the regular recommended screening. The woman I told you about did not know she had cancer until it was too late. She felt a little pain in the armpit. She went to the doctor to get a painkiller, hoping to return home, rest it off, and be fine by the following day. She never came back. She was admitted in the hospital because the first doctor that saw her suspected she had breast cancer. And when they did the tests and so many examinations, the results that came back were clear in bold. She had stage 4 breast cancer. I believe that if we had done the recommended regular screenings, my mother would have died of a different cause. She wouldn't have died in the pain I saw her in. I therefore would like to call upon each one of us, everyone listening, you have a role to play. Even the men. 40 men die every week from prostate cancer. Let's do what we are supposed to do. Let's create awareness. Let's sensitize our communities. Let's eat right. Let's live healthy lifestyles. I would like to call upon the government of Uganda and other stakeholders to create and implement a national sensitization plan. And if possible, establish a cancer fund. Because fighting cancer needs everyone on board. Someone might ask, we don't have money, we don't have resources, how do we fund this fund that you're talking about? The things that we've talked about that cause cancer, for example, the fumes from the cars, are as a result of the fuel we put in the cars. Add a small amount on every liter of fuel. Add a small amount on every piece of cigarette. And do that for all the substances or all the agents that cause cancer. And you will have as much money as you need to create awareness, to provide screening services, and to reach out to everyone who can dare to listen to your message. I thank you so much.